Hi everyone, my name's Norah and I'm a high schooler with dyslexia. As someone who is diagnosed a little bit later in life, I often felt isolated or confused when I noticed my peers catching on to certain skills like reading and spelling faster than I could. That's why I'm here today to tell you about dyslexia and some of its common symptoms. Dyslexia is more common than blonde hair, blue eyes, and even left-handedness, yet a lot of people don't know much about it. So then, what is dyslexia? Dyslexia is a language-based learning disability caused by different wiring in the brain. Students with dyslexia struggle with decoding words, which basically means they struggle with attaching sounds to letters. Specifically, students with dyslexia might have a hard time hearing the difference between sounds like ch and sh. They may also struggle with clapping out the syllables of longer words. These type of things can make it hard to do tasks like reading, writing, spelling, and even pronouncing words. But it's important to remember that dyslexia manifests itself differently for everyone. In fact, one person with dyslexia might experience slightly varied symptoms throughout their lifetime. There are a couple of warning signs of dyslexia. The first is guessing words based on context rather than sounding them out. The second is having trouble reading, spelling, writing, and pronouncing words. The third is leaving out specific sounds and letters when writing and pronouncing words. The fourth is understanding things easily when listening to them, but then struggling to understand and comprehend that same material when you have to read it yourself. And the fifth is struggling to remember instructions given in a sequential order. It's important to note that most children will experience some difficulty performing a learning-related task at some point in their schooling. This, of course, does not mean that they all have a learning disability. However, if you feel some of these problems persist after trying hard, it's important to contact a parent or a trusted adult like a teacher, grandparent, or family friend who can try their best to get you some help. One of the most prevalent misconceptions about dyslexia is that people with dyslexia see words or letters backwards. In reality, dyslexia is an auditory processing condition, which means we experience challenges in how the brain processes sounds and letter patterns. Although it's true that people with dyslexia might confuse words or letters, the truth is dyslexics see the same thing as everybody else. Another myth is that people with dyslexia can't read. The truth is that most people with dyslexia can read with the correct help. It's important to remember that even students with average test scores can still have dyslexia. These types of students often use coping strategies like using context and pictures to understand the meaning of words. These type of strategies can help in the short term, but they prevent students from reaching their full reading potential. Dyslexia is not something that stops people from achieving their dreams. In fact, dyslexics are known for having higher problem-solving and creative thinking skills. Did you know that some of the world's most famous and successful people have dyslexia? Let's take a look at a few. The first is Albert Einstein. One of the most famous and successful scientists ever struggled with reading and writing in school because he had dyslexia. But this did not stop him from achieving great things. The second is Whoopi Goldberg. Despite struggling with undiagnosed dyslexia throughout her childhood, she persevered through those challenges and was able to become an Emmy Award-winning actor, writer, and author. One other person is Lewis Hamilton, famous British race car driver, was diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 17. Despite challenges in processing information quickly and reading, Hamilton never let that stop him from achieving his dreams of racing. One thing in common with all these people is that they displayed resilience in spite of their challenges. While dyslexia can never be cured, there are some methods of dyslexia remediation that can make it easier to read and write. One method, called multisensory structured language, or MSL for short, is recommended by the International Dyslexia Association. It involves teaching multiple senses, visual, auditory, tactile, and kinesthetic, and using systematic teaching to facilitate learning. This could look like tracing letters while audibly saying their sounds. This method can help break down reading into small, simple steps and is scientifically proven to increase neural pathways in the brain. Methods like these can help dyslexic students reach their full reading potential. I know firsthand how challenging and difficult of an experience dyslexia can be. So, if you ever feel like you're struggling with the symptoms of dyslexia, please don't be afraid to reach out to a parent, teacher, or trusted adult. Remember that about 15% of students have dyslexia. So, whether it's at home or at school, let's keep uplifting students with dyslexia. Thank you.